If it's not your body, then you have no opinion on it.
Why? Why do I have no opinion on it, Dad? Why?
Because it's not a kid, it's a fetus. It doesn't have a soul, doesn't have a heart, doesn't have emotions. It has basically no brain. It can't do anything. No
Why does that matter,
reason.
Dad? Why does that matter? Dad, come on aboard. How are you?
If it's not your body, then you have no opinion on it.
Why? Why do I have no opinion on it, Dad? Why?
Because it's not a kid, it's a fetus. It doesn't have a soul, doesn't have a heart, doesn't have emotions. It has basically no brain. It can't do anything. Hold on. It can't do anything. Like there's like no
Why does that matter,
reason.
Dad? Why does that matter? Sometimes I don't have emotions. Some people say I don't even have a brain. Why does it matter
yeah.
the features of the human when we're choosing who to alive and who to unalive?
It's not. Okay, so again, it is a fetus. It doesn't have a soul, doesn't have emotions, doesn't have a brain.
How do you know it doesn't have a soul?
It doesn't. It's a cell. It's a cell. It's literally
It's not just a cell. Are you talking about the fetal stage of development? Because that certainly is not a cell. But if you're just talking about offspring, well, offspring we wouldn't usually characterize as just a cell. Maybe you're talking about the human zygote that comes into existence at the point of conception when a unique individual human. Hold on. Let me. Hold on.
Oh. It is a cell. It's not a human. It has no right to a life. Okay.
It does have a right to life though, because it's a human.
It is a woman's choice to get rid of the cell if she wants to.
So a woman has the choice to off her own human child. Would you agree with that statement?
It's not a human.
What is it? If it's not a human, hold on. One question at a time. If it's not a human, what is it?
It's a cell.
What type of cell is it?
It's
an embryo?
Yeah. Yeah. Literally.
Okay, which are developmental stages. So these human zygotes, human embryos? Are they embryos of a different species? What species are the embryos of? What species are the cells of?
Is this a science class?
No, I'm fighting for women's rights because
hold on, Dad. I know you're fighting for women's rights. I actually am fighting for women's rights as well because I'm fighting not only for the women to stop being a victim of this terrible abortion industry, but also the little girls in the womb that get slaughtered every single day. So the question is, the cells, the developmental stages you are naming, what species do they belong to?
Okay. We can get scientific if we want, but like the real problem here is that you think getting an abortion is like the biggest problem of them all, and that it's the worst thing to ever do.
Dad, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. It's pretty bad, but I did not say that. There's probably worse things you could do.
Yeah, there's worse things to
I think
do.
I think that when we think about this perception of, well, if I may, if we think about this perception of abortion, I do think that we have to kind of step into the shoes of individuals and understand that people are so miseducated on this, and we live in a time where it's acceptable. And so when they make these decisions, yes, they bear the burden of it, but they don't bear the burden in the same way of somebody, chopping someone's head off, because obviously their morality and their conscience has not been formed correctly. That being said, this is still a terrible thing, and we got to put an end to it. That's for sure.
We don't have to go like, again, if a woman is like, even if she wasn't assaulted or incest, whatever, if she's just not ready for a child or having a kid, or she can't have that responsibility, I completely agree with her to get rid of it. Like,
I get that. I get you agree with her that it's a good idea for her to get rid of it, but can you prove to me that is what we should allow to happen? That is something, or rather that the baby is not worth protecting to the extent we stop somebody from offing them?
It's not a baby. It's not a baby. It's just a little cell.
Dad, you're not going to convince me there because you're arguing against a wall of scientific fact that this is a human being in the womb. If it's not a human being, then what is it?
It's a cell. It's just something in your stomach that you can just get rid of if you want to.
It's not just a cell. You know what, Dad? Do you like pictures? Because I do. They help explain things that words sometimes cannot. You keep calling the baby in the womb a cell. Do you know when most abortions happen?
No.
Most abortions are going to be happening in the first trimester. By the end of the first trimester, when the baby exits, or well, the baby at 8 weeks, it becomes in the fetal stage. But by the end of the first trimester, that is what the baby looks like. That's going to be end of first trimester. That is a fetus. So you keep calling. Hold on.
She can.
You keep calling that a clump of cells. That baby has eyes. It has an elbow there. It has limbs. Fingers. Fingernails are forming. I mean, its brain is forming. Its heart's beating. You keep calling it a cell, and I don't know why you choose to dehumanize that baby. I don't get it. It's
Because
not good.
as long it is in someone's body, they have full control over it, and if they don't want it in them anymore, they can get rid of it. They don't have to carry
Why?
it.
Why should we allow that to happen?
It's their body.
It's their body, their choice. Like, if they want to,
So
they
you can
do
do.
that.
Would you hold that you can do whatever you like with your body?
Yeah, literally. It doesn't matter what you want to do with your body. If that's what you please to do, go ahead and do it.
Should we allow people to off themselves?
If that's your choice, do it.
Should we allow people to use their body to abuse children?
Again, once like, it is your body, your choice. You know what I'm saying? Like,
So you
abusing
can
children,
you use your body to abuse your kid?
No, that's completely
But
not what
you
I'm saying.
said
at all.
it's your body, your choice.
Exactly. But like, hitting a kid,
But-
that's not your body. That's your kid's body.
Oh,
Like,
the
that's
kid has a
completely-
separate body, and you're causing harm to the kid. So it's not really your body, your choice, because you're causing harm to another being that has a body.
That's
Is that what you're saying?
completely different.
Is that what you're
That's
saying though?
completely different.
In principle, is that
No.
what you're saying?
No,
What are you saying
can
then?
do
Why
whatever
can't
you-
if
Oh my
somebody
God.
wants to abuse a child with their body, with their hands, beat them up?
I'm
Why
saying you
can't
can
they?
do what you want
If we're
to
going off of your
body.
principle.
You can do what you want to your body, not to others people's body. Not
Oh,
to
you
your
can do whatever you
child's
want to
body.
your body, but you can't do
To
whatever you
your
want to other
body.
people's bodies. That's what you're saying.
Oh my God.
So you can do whatever you want to your body, but you can't do whatever you want to other people's bodies, and yet in a pregnancy, you can literally starve and remove the child from your body. You can literally go in and rip the limbs off of your child. You can suck it out with a vacuum. You can do all of that, even though that's not your body.
Because the thing is like inside of you, so you can basically do whatever you want. It's
I
like,
get you think that. Let me ask you another question to maybe get this going in a little more interesting fashion. Yeah, I don't know. What year were you born again? Let's see if you say the same year.
2005,
In what month?
June.
Okay. Are you actually 18? You don't sound like you're 18, but
I know I have a baby voice, but I promise you, I'm 18. I was born in 2005 on June. I'm 18. I can have this argument, and again, it is a woman's choice.
okay. Let me ask you this question. What would be the best thing to do for the child?
What do you mean?
The child that's developing in the womb, what would be the best thing to do for the child when it comes to an abortion decision?
Like, if you don't want the child, get rid of it. It's that simple, really. Like,
You didn't answer
really-
the question. I asked you what's the best thing to do for the child. Do you not care about the child's interests?
No,
Why?
because if I don't want the thing, I'm gonna get rid of it. I don't care what it thinks.
So it doesn't matter what another party thinks in a decision where that party is going to be off, even though the party has done nothing wrong. It's just about what you think personally. Does that make any sense?
I guess.
Do we deal with other situations in the same fashion?
We're not talking about other situations. We're talking about abortions.
So we don't care about the interests of the child. What's stopping a mother from offing her day-old child outside the womb?
It's like, it's so simple. It's really simple. Like, if you're
You
a
keep
woman,
saying it's simple, and yet I don't get it.
You're not understanding. You're not understanding because if you
Well,
if you're a
it's quite
woman-
confusing because you make this argument and you repeat these lines, and then you end with offing a kid, and it just doesn't click for me. It's weird.
because at first, because it actually is a cell. It doesn't matter if it looks like a baby, because like it's inside of you. It's a cell. You can get rid of it. Like,
Okay.
I'm
Well,
a
we've already
cold
discussed, and
person.
you're not going to concede that's a human being. You're not
No,
going there.
I'm a cold person. Okay, I don't care. I don't care I don't care. Okay, if the woman does not want it, she has she can get rid of it.
Yeah,
She
I know.
has
I know you
the
think
right
that,
to
but
do
would
it.
you concede that's a human being she's getting rid of?
I mean, sure. It's a human being. Let's say it's a baby. It's a baby. Okay, if she wants to get rid of it, she
Are we
can.
allowed to off innocent human beings?
Oh my gosh.
Are we?
You're talking about murder.
Yes, ma'am. You have to say schmurder on TikTok. They took me down last time, okay? So you gotta
Okay.
be careful. I'm sorry for
Okay.
getting a little upset, but I don't want to be censored again.
No, that's my bad. That's my bad.
You're good.
My bad. But
But can we off innocent human beings? Is that the precedent that we have in this country?
I mean, no, you can't off human beings, but like you
You
can
just said it's a
definitely
human being,
off the
and it
fetus
seems
inside
innocent
of
to
you.
me. I don't know. What are we missing here? Where's the argument?
The argument, okay, I am arguing that if you do not have a uterus, then you do not have an opinion on this.
That's silly. That's
That
silly.
that is
You
what
know
I
what?
strongly believe on.
That's quite silly. Why would you say such a thing?
Because you do not know what it's like to be pregnant or the
Why does that
feeling
matter?
of it.
Am I arguing for am I making a statement about the feelings that women have when they're pregnant? I don't think so. I'm simply trying to protect the child's life.
Okay, but
Why
like,
do I need to be an expert in getting pregnant? Look,
Yes.
I'm never going to tell you that pregnancy is an easy thing to endure because I can't get pregnant. I've never experienced pregnancy. I leave that to the moms. I really do. But what I will say is I have access to these higher faculties that I can reason and I can understand a situation without being directly impacted or involved by the situation. And I can tell you what is right and wrong. And that's what I'm trying to do right now. But you're saying I have no say. That's weird.
You don't, because you're a man. You don't understand
Ooh.
what it's like being pregnant or having to decide whether.
Did you listen to what I just said?
it.
I mean, did you really listen to what I said?
I did listen. I did listen.
Respectfully, can you repeat at least the major point of what I just said?
No.
You didn't listen to what I said. Why don't you just be honest? You
listen.
didn't listen. It's okay. Sometimes you don't listen. It's okay.
With you. I did listen because I am getting frustrated with you.
I know you're getting frustrated, but you got to actually think about this and use some reasoning here because your argument's not very good. You're saying things and we're tackling them and then you're moving on. So
because again, I strongly believe that if you're,
I know
if
you
you're
strongly
uterus,
believe that, but where is the reasoning, right? If you're going to say that a man can have no opinion on that and that is your reasoning for why you are pro-choice, that's pretty weak. Because first of all, you're not actually attacking the argument, and second of all, that stance is silly, right? You can have an opinion on slavery. You can have you can have an opinion on slavery. You can have an opinion on Black issues, Latino issues. Maybe you want to help those communities, and you don't have to directly be in those communities. You don't have to directly be impacted by slavery to have an opinion on slavery, and yet we allow for that because as the political animal we are, we can access these higher faculties and we can reason and we can use our speech. So it's not everything is like, we have to be directly impacted by.
That is true. I do agree with that. But again, I mean, okay, I see how I can see from a point, I can see from your perspective on how abortion is bad because in your eyes, that is a human, and that is a human to you, and that person deserves a chance to live. I can see that from your perspective. But from my perspective, I see that if that woman does not want that child, or if she wants nothing to do with it, she has the right to abort it if she pleases.
Yeah, I get you see that, but you can't show to me that that's a good thing to allow. I see no entitlement in the Constitution. I see no entitlement through basic reasoning that any person should have the right to off their child, to off an innocent human being. But I want to move on. I got 13 people in the guest box. I appreciate you coming up, okay? Okay, so she did sound very young. She gave me her birth year. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Maybe I should have just moved on. But we will move on to somebody else and hear what they have to say. Who have I not spoken to before? Julia seems like somebody I haven't spoken to. If you guys don't mind liking the live, that does help with viewership. It does help with getting people in the box. Even though we have a ton of people in the box, I am back after being censored for a week. It's good to be back. Julia.
Hi.
Julia, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. What do you have to say?
I actually agree with you. It's like, I don't understand, even, if you get pregnant and you want to abort your baby, then you should not be having sex at all.
I agree.
Because
You should know the act you're engaging in. You should know about it.
Exactly. And I understand that there are, cases where people get taken advantage of and then they get pregnant, but even then, how is a child's life worth more than a baby?
Yeah.
How is that worth more than someone else's life? And if if it is a child and they a really young girl and they do get pregnant, that is really bad. But at the same time, what is saying that baby's life isn't worth more than the mother?
Yeah, I mean, they both have equal human value, and you look at the situation how it is, and you care for both beings. And maybe it's a situation where the mother can't even really give birth because she is so young. But anyway, I do want to go on to pro-choicers. I appreciate you agreeing with me, but I'm trying to have the dialogue with the other side. So thank you for coming up, but I'm going to move on, okay?
Absolutely. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Bye. Thank you so much, Julia. Super based. We will move on to another individual that I have not spoken to before. That will be Jay. Guys, please like the live. Discord server's in the bio if you want to join. Good to have you guys in there as well. Jay, welcome aboard. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. What do you have to say?
Okay, so I'm not necessarily on either or like pro-choice or like pro whatever.
Okay.
I kind of just want to know like what's your reasoning? Like are you trying to understand the other side? Like what's your reasoning for the live?
My reasoning for the live. This is a great question. People should ask this more often because people just make assumptions about me. They think I'm this like, this obsessed young man who just wants to take women's rights away. That's not true. The truth is this. I think that this is an immoral, evil, disgusting act. Abortion is wrong because you are depriving an innocent human life, a baby, the little child in the womb, of their life now and their future life. I think that that is something that a just society cannot allow for. So I do these to have conversations with the other side and hopefully convince individuals to not support those measures anymore so that we can access our reasoning and say, no, we're not going to offer kids any longer.
Okay, so say for example, like you want to get rid of abortion altogether, correct?
Yes, I would give the medical exception, but yes.
So say like before, let's use me for example. Say I got pregnant, but
Sure.
before, like I was perfectly fine, perfectly healthy, yada 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 before I got pregnant. But then you said accept medical, but say like I was perfectly fine, like, but aborting the baby would be like, well, this is what the doctors are saying. Like the doctors are saying that that would be your only option.
Yeah, I don't think that ever happens. So that's a common talking point from the other side where they say that doctors come into a room and they say, you know what, you have to abort your kid. Like this is
That's
your
not what
only
I'm
option.
saying. I'm saying like
that doesn't really happen. And what I am proposing with the medical exception specifically is that we always try to save both lives. And there may be a situation, maybe like an ectopic pregnancy, where the baby's life is already, for all intents and purposes, already gone. And so you have to just do everything you can to save the mother's life. Maybe it's a more difficult battle than that. But that's what I'm talking about with the medical necessity. But outside of that, I don't see any reason for you to off your kid.
there could be other reasons, like say I want
Like?
to have more kids and this baby, for example, like we're still going to use me as an example,
Yeah.
like is damaging any like everything else. And I'm not saying that doctors just come in and be like, oh, you have to abort your baby.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is something's going wrong and they're like, oh, the only option we have right now is that.
So you have a good desire. You want more kids. You want to maybe fill the earth with your children. I'm all for that. Believe me, I am. I'm a Catholic. However, your good desire is being corrupted by bad means. You want to reach having more kids by offing your current kid that is causing certain trauma and difficulties to your reproductive system. That in itself is not good, and we can't allow that action to exist.
Okay, so here's another thing, because there's also that I'm a black woman, right?
Sure.
And well, I'm not gonna say that's kind of a stereotype, but it's very common. Like
No,
black
I'm
people
just,
tend,
it's not fun. Go ahead.
black people tend to end up having a lot of kids, either because they can't afford to do certain things, because we're most of the time at a disadvantage.
And that's actually not a bad thing. Reproducing and having big families, that can be very helpful. So
It
that's
can
probably a good thing.
sometimes, because I come from a big family, and so
Yeah.
but I'm not saying that we should totally get rid of abortion, but I'm not saying that it should be like, oh, I have, like, I don't want this kid, so let me just abort it. Because, like, most people wait, like, too long. Because now it, like, is a baby. Like, people are most of the time in denial when they first find out, like, if they didn't want the kid. And I feel like if more people weren't in such like a state of, oh my God, I'm not pregnant, and try to accept it, then you're not really, how do I say it to where like it's not, where it's TikTok friendly? It's in the sense of I'm getting rid of like a clump of cells versus I'm getting rid of a baby.
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of have that broken intuition. Yeah. You know, so I think unfortunately for you, if you're hoping you're leaning more pro-choice, and good for us, is I think that you're actually more pro-life than you may think. Because the fact that you just named that people shouldn't just be able to off their kids just for any silly reason, I mean, that's the majority of abortions. Majority of abortions are not coming from medical reasons. The majority of abortions aren't coming because the baby's absolutely destroying your body and eliminating your chance to have kids in the future. The majority of abortions come from elective decisions just because of different preferences and desires. So, you know,
But
if you really do believe that principle, you're going to mostly be pro-life.
but even still, like there's people who can't afford to take care of their kids, and like I'm not saying like, oh, just go ahead and kill your kids because you can't afford to take care of your kids, but honestly, well, no, that's a bad thing to say, but in a sense, like it kind of would end up being better than putting them in foster care, because not like
Would it
foster
though?
care.
I mean,
Honestly,
think about that statement. You're telling me that the life of a foster care kid or a kid that, you know, is being housed temporarily, that their life is so bad that it would be better to off them, to deprive them of their entire future? Is that what you really, I mean, do you really believe that? Have you thought about that deeply?
honestly, most people that are on TikTok and are like able to access everything on TikTok live in America. It's not a very safe place. So either way it goes, like you never really know how long or how short your life is going to be.
That doesn't mean that we step out of our way and deprive individuals of their life for no really good reason. I mean, just understand that the measure that or the principle that you're deploying here would make a really wrong, in my view, principled approach where you would say that these individuals who are suffering, who are in foster care, who are maybe they're in the adoption agencies waiting to get adopted, that their lives aren't worth living. And I think that in principle, that's wrong. You also have to live with all of these individuals that are currently living lives that they very much enjoy and understand that those individuals who came from these tough upbringings could have had their lives stripped away from them, which I think is also just, when you put it all together, it just doesn't make sense that we ever act on principles like that.
Lots of kids first off, there are a lot of kids in foster care already, and
Yeah.
most of the time kids that come out of foster care have always talked about, like I have a friend, and even after being adopted, she was still abused.
Yeah,
So
would it be
either
better for your friend to not be alive?
that was not my point.
Well, no, I understand. I'm very sorry for your friend. That's terrible. No child should ever be abused, right? We got to put an end to that too. However, your argument would then follow and say it would be better for that individual to not be alive. And I wouldn't agree. I don't know your friend, but assuming that you're friends with them and you seem like a very reasonable and nice person, I'm sure that they add something to your life, and I'm sure that you add something to their life. So it doesn't seem to me like naturally we should be saying that that person should be deprived of their life. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
What I'm trying to say is either way it goes, depending on, like, I guess you could say in a sense that I'm pro-choice then, because if that's something that person feels they need to do to like either better themselves or help them in a situation that like they could get out of, then that's fine. And I am not under 18. I'll actually be 20 in November.
So, but at the end of the day, it's still, would you say it's wrong to deprive them of their life on the basis that they're going to suffer or going to have hard times, or you just don't really care about that? It's all about what the individual wants to do.
I'm not saying that like you deprive them of their life. Like, honestly, not all, like, the person before me or the person before them was saying that, oh, you shouldn't have sex at all. But it's just like not everybody like has sex just to have kids.
Yeah, but that is the natural end of the act. So you're engaging in an act that creates a child. I don't understand why then, like, are we obligated to then give you an ability to do something that's morally wrong? I don't buy that. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
What?
I mean, so wait, because it sounded like at the beginning that you had an intuition that this is morally wrong to off a kid for just an elective reason. Would you say that? Would you say that you shouldn't off your kid in the womb if you just want to do it because you desire money or you don't want to have a kid?
Okay, so basically my like whole thing, the only way it would be morally wrong if it's just like, say you're like way further along in your pregnancy. Like, for
So
example,
later, so like second trimester, third trimester, you're thinking?
yeah, when the baby is like more developed and like is doing a lot more, like moving
Yep.
around and doing all of that. And
But why does that
then
matter?
just
Why does it matter if the baby's more developed? It's still the same baby.
because there's more, like,
What do you mean by
it's
that?
as in like, I don't really know how to explain it for real, but there's more, as in, I don't know, they're bigger, they weigh more, they're more developed. I guess that's what I mean by more.
Why does that matter to me? It's still the same child. Is it why? Let me ask you this question specifically. Why is it wrong to off the more developed child in the womb? Why is that wrong?
In my sense is because, like, first off, you have like premature. Like, yeah, okay, they're not like fully developed, but they're developed enough to where they can survive outside the room.
And why is it wrong to off them? Because they can survive outside the womb?
Not because they can survive outside the womb, just because now that is like a full-fledged like baby.
So it's wrong to off a baby because they're fully fledged. But you can't tell me what fully fledged is. And yeah, I mean that's one of the big issues here.
Fully fledged would mean like they can survive outside the womb.
So like what are some features of a fully fledged baby?
They have all their fingers, their brain, they
Okay, I mean
have all
the
of their
brain.
skin.
Well, the brain's not fully developed in the womb.
It's not fully
The
developed,
brain
but
starts developing within the first trimester.
they still have
So
a
do the
brain.
fingers and the fingernails, and the heartbeat can be heard at 28 days. So a lot of these things are going to be there pretty early on before most women even know they're pregnant.
Took human growth, I know that.
I just, so like you're saying fully fledged, like what exactly does that mean? I mean, to be honest with you, I'm 23 years old. I'm not even fully fledged. Or at least sometimes it feels like that. So, you know, we're always kind of moving and developing. Are we going to start saying that you have value because you're fully fledged and you don't have value because you never developed this and this and this? I don't know. Maybe we have gone as far as we can because you don't have the exact requirements for what fully fledged is, and that's kind of necessary for the conversation.
Sure.
Well, I appreciate you coming up.
Have a nice day.
Yeah, you too. Hopefully she wasn't too upset at the end. I thought we were having a good conversation. I don't know. All right, we will move on to somebody else, guys. I appreciate you being in here. I do have the Discord server. The link is in my bio. All you have to do is hit the top left, go to my TikTok page, hit the link tree, and go to the Discord server. I'd love to have you in there. It's a great way to connect and to talk about different things. And also a great way to support because I can always get censored on here. I can get censored on YouTube. But I can't get really censored on Discord. I mean, I guess I could, but I think I'm pretty far from that happening. So not really worried about that. All right, we will move on to somebody else and hear what they have to say. All right, who's it gonna be? Bella G's has been here for a while. Bella, how are you?
Hi,
How old are you, Bella?
I'm 18.
What year were you born?
2006. February.
Hold on,
So-
I should be able to do the math quicker than this. 14.
February 2006. That means
Yeah,
I'm
you would be 18 if that's true. Okay, so what do you have to say?
Okay, so my argument is that I'm pro-choice and that women should be able to have an abortion if they want an abortion, because if you're not financially stable, why put a child in that position where they could be potentially starved, potentially like fucked up because the mom wasn't ready, but their parents forced them to have an abortion, not to not have an
So
abortion.
the reason why we give the right to off a kid is because there's a potentiality for the child to starve.
No,
You're
but
saying, listen, James, this baby is being brought into a family where the mother doesn't have any money, and that's going to lead to the potentiality of the baby starving. So the argument there then would follow that we can off the baby in the womb because there's a strong potential that they will starve. That's what you're saying?
it depends what case is happening, because there could be a lot of different reasons why you would have an abortion. Like, if the baby is like already old, that means that you are being irresponsible by yourself. Like, if the baby's already old, if the baby's still a clump of cells and you know you're not
But
financially
now you're making a different
stable enough-
argument. Respectfully, you're making a different argument now. Now you're saying, well, James, it's not really about the starving. I was joking about that. But what I really care about is development. That at a certain stage, the baby it takes on a different moral value, and that's going to be tied directly to its stage in development. Is that your argument? Is that why you are pro-choice?
No, that's not why I'm pro-choice. I'm pro-choice because if you don't think you could have a baby, why put a baby in that position where you like wouldn't be able to have a baby?
Don't engage in the act.
Okay, but what if you got raped?
Can't say that on TikTok. You have to say grape.
Sorry.
I
What
can
if
get
you
in
got
trouble.
raped?
Everybody hit say F1 in the chat. That's a different situation, and I still don't support offing the child in that case, but I think that we're not going to agree on any principles here if we just talk about the 1% of cases that do happen. But that is terrible, and it's worth talking about, but I don't think we're going to come to an agreement with that unless we talk about the majority of cases first.
I don't think that you should have it if that's what happened, because it depends how old you are and everything.
So outside of that, would you support pro-life legislation?
I mean, like, it's not okay for how your argument was before, like, for to just kill random kids, like, if they're
You
already
can't say that on
alive.
TikTok either. You have to say off. You have to say off.
Off.
You're killing
off
me.
range.
Or no, look at me, and I'm saying
sorry,
it.
I'm
You have to say
sorry.
off. I've been censored before. Okay, China, I love you.
Sorry. I be getting censored all the time too because of this. But
Okay.
I just be trying. But anyway,
Yeah. So
I don't.
Why can you off your
it's not the
kid
same
even
thing.
outside of SA?
It's not the same thing. Like, it's not really offing a kid. It's more offing.
What is it then?
something-
What's the nature of the situation?
It's something that isn't even like alive yet. Like, it's not. It can't
Well,
survive.
it is alive. That's not true. It is alive.
It really depends what stage you're at. Because if you're on the second trimester already, I don't even know why you're having an abortion because you waited that long.
So you would ban
definitely-
second trimester abortions.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty bad. Second trimester.
Why would you ban those?
Because they have limbs. Like, you're literally breaking apart.
Babies have limbs in the first trimester.
Not really. If you're.
They
like,
do. You want to see a picture?
Go look up.
Do you want to see I have a picture.
Look up
3
3
I have
weeks.
a picture from Leonard Nelson, who has this amazing book where he was able to take amazing pictures of babies in the
old was
womb, and
that?
he's actually pro-choice.
How old was that one?
Sorry?
Right there. How old is the baby on the cover?
I don't know. That might be a second trimester baby. I'm not sure.
Exactly.
It looks like it's second trimester.
Even
But
the
I'm gonna
first
show you. I'm
trimester-
gonna show you a fetus in the first trimester. You said
I've
that
seen it. I've seen
that
fetuses.
limbs only show up in the second trimester, but that's not really true.
The fully formed limbs.
I don't know. Those look like limbs to me. They're obviously not fully formed, but you're not fully formed at any point in gestation.
Yeah, but what week is that?
That is week 12.
Yeah, like that's already like super late. That's like the end of the
week
first
11, yeah,
trimester.
week 12.
If you're in the beginning of the first trimester and you found out you're pregnant, if you're
So
waiting
you
for
would
the
would you
12
ban late first trimester abortions?
Yeah, I would ban late.
Oh,
first
okay. So now we're kind
trimester.
of walking it back here. I think
Okay,
eventually
'cause-
we might get
'cause
you to be
if-
pro-life.
'cause
But
if you're-
okay, so you would
That's
ban
kind of crazy. Like, if
you would
it
ban
has,
late
like,
first trimester abortions. Why wouldn't you ban
and they
mid
don't even
first
allow
trimester
that to
abortions?
happen. Most of the times,
We
so
do. We do.
They usually you don't.
Women have access to it in certain states. They do.
Well, usually I've never heard of anybody having a 12-week abortion because that's already super.
It
late.
happens.
Like, you would
It happens.
know if
First
you were
trimester
pregnant and you
abortions
didn't
do
want it.
happen.
If you knew that you were pregnant and you didn't want the baby from jump, then you would have got the abortion way earlier instead of making the baby.
So would you allow 10-week abortions?
Depending on the case, like it really depends. Like if you're still waiting like that long, but it's not even.
So a woman gets pregnant and she finds out she's pregnant like 6 or 7 weeks into being pregnant, and then she has the ability to offer a kid. Do you allow that?
She has the ability to off it, or she has the ability to
off it, yeah, to get an abortion. Do you allow that to happen?
I mean, if she is not in the position where she can have a kid at that time, and it would probably.
Well, she does have a kid. You're telling me that if she's not in a position where she can sustain the child's life outside the womb?
Yeah, but.
Why is that a requirement for protecting the child's life? Why is that the qualifier?
Why would you make the kid go through something that they don't have to go through if you would have not just not had the kid until you waited until you?
Because that child is entitled to life.
But
that's
it wasn't a
little
child
human
yet,
in the
basically.
womb. Sorry?
It was 6 weeks. It's barely even a child. That's literally just a clump of cells. Like when you have an abortion, like my friends have had abortions before, and they literally tell me that it's not even like that. There's no way that little tiny baby would. There's absolutely no way.
That is end of the embryonic stage.
Outside of the womb, though.
So that's gonna be about 7-8 weeks.
That cannot survive.
So a lot of women are aborting kids at this stage.
Yeah, I know a couple who have.
And you see it has eyes, its arms are being formed, its heart's beating.
It's barely there, but yeah, I mean it is there. It sucks, but if you find out late and you have to get the abortion, then you have to get it. Like you can't.
But you don't have to though, because financial stress on you or mental anguish doesn't justify offering another human being. It doesn't stop. Hold on, it doesn't stop you from carrying out the pregnancy and then maybe giving the kid up for adoption.
It's worse than having. It's worse to have the kid and have the kid being.
You think it's worse for the mother, but it's certainly not worse for the baby, because in an abortion you're actually depriving the baby of their life, and that in itself is bad.
That the baby would happen.
Sorry?
There would be other times that you could have a baby in the future. Like that doesn't stop you from having.
That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter, because the actual act that you're doing right now is immoral and wrong. It's depriving that child of their life. That's wrong. You shouldn't do that.
People do immoral stuff all the time, but if
should we make it legal? Should we go out of our way to make it legal for somebody to do what is immoral?
No, but it's not as immoral as you making it seem. Like it's something.
Well, it is immoral. It's wrong. It's. Would you agree it's offing an innocent human being?
No, because it's not an innocent human being yet.
What is it then? If it's not a human being, what is it?
You say you're born with original sin, and the baby isn't born yet. So technically, the baby does have original sin if we want to be real Catholic with it. But that's not my point. Anyway, the baby clearly, obviously, did not do anything wrong. But it's if you can't have a kid, what are you gonna do? You can't keep the kid if you know you're gonna be in a position where you can't take care of the kid, and you know.
Yeah, I'm not even advocating that you have to keep the kid. I just think that you shouldn't deprive that child of their life. You shouldn't. I think that in a society, we shouldn't make it easier for someone to do what they so clearly shouldn't do, because to do what they want to do is immoral and evil, because you're depriving that human of a life. And you can't just say, well, James, it's not really a human. Well, no, it really is a human, because it has its own unique genetic code. It's developing as a human. It's self-directing that development. It's developing in an environment that was designed for it. These are all indicators that we're looking at a human child. And it's wrong to deprive children of their life. Would you make the statement that sometimes it's okay to deprive a child of their life?
But if it's not alive yet, then it's not a child.
It is alive. Is it growing? Is it developing?
But is it in the world yet? Did it come out of the womb?
It is in the world. It's in a family, that's for sure.
It came out of the womb. It's able to survive outside of the womb.
What do you mean by survive outside of the womb? What are the qualifiers for that?
A 6 to 8 week old baby, would it be able to survive outside of the womb at 6 to 8 weeks old?
When can you survive outside the womb?
After like 10 months.
After 10 months, so once you're born.
Yeah.
And how do you survive outside the womb without external forces helping you?
Babies even up to 32 weeks can survive outside the womb if they're born like prematurely. Some babies have been born prematurely and survived outside of the womb. And that's late in pregnancy. That's 32
Yeah, but what do you mean they survived outside the womb? How did they survive on their own? Because I've been around. I have a wonderful niece.
That baby was born prematurely in somebody's house.
Listen, I've been around tiny children before, and they can't do much at all.
Exactly.
So how exactly does a baby, very tiny little person, survive outside the womb on its own? Can you explain that to me?
I mean, it wouldn't be able to survive outside the womb, like, at all. Like, as soon as it would come out, it would die. Like, you can't take care of it to make it stay alive. I mean, if it's 32 weeks and, like, born prematurely like that in a later week, then it's
So
gonna
so
be
is
able to
there
survive by,
so
like,
I'm confused at what you're
machines.
saying. Would you
Machines are gonna be,
agree
like,
that
making it stay alive.
no baby can survive on its own outside the womb?
Some babies can, but
What
some
babies can?
like babies who are like maybe like I think the earliest probably like 28 to 26 weeks the earliest.
Okay, so you have a 28-week baby that comes out of the womb, and you have that baby in the hospital. You leave that baby alone. How does it survive on its own?
Probably like the machines, like like the breather machines.
Oh, the machines. So we have to give it. We have to give it. Actually, this is really fascinating. Now, the road we're gonna go down. We have to give it extraordinary medical care to keep it alive.
Yeah, if it's born prematurely.
Okay, how is that? How is it surviving on its own?
It's not surviving on its own. Clearly, that's what I mean.
Oh, okay.
It's
But
being
the baby at 10 months is surviving
alive.
on its own.
No, the baby at 10 months doesn't need machines to live. That it doesn't.
Okay, so you're born, right? Beautiful little boy comes out of the womb, right? Just came out of the birth canal. He's ready for the world. He's crying. He's crapping his pants. How does that baby survive on its own?
I mean, not survive on its own. I meant to say like survive without machines. Like it
Oh, so
can't.
that's a qualifier. If you can survive without machines, then you're worth protecting.
Yeah, I mean, like even if
Really?
you can't, even if
Do you really
can't-
believe that? What about people in
even if you
hospitals
can't
that have
survive
just
without
been in a
machines,
severe?
if you're
What
born
if, what if
already,
you?
if you're in the world, then you deserve a chance to live. If you're in the world already, if you're not in the world yet, and
I
you're
don't even
still
know
in
what
the
that means.
womb,
Well, I want to actually ask you the first question because we can go down that road as well. But so if you're not relying on machines, you have the right to exist. That's what you're telling me?
no. If you are relying on machines, if you are already out of the womb, you deserve a chance to live. If you are not in the womb
And
yet,
why? What's so magical about being outside the womb that grants you
that
the right to live?
you're already here. You already are outside.
What do you mean by you're already here? You're already here in the womb.
Not really though. Like you're still able to be. I mean, not at 28 weeks, but
Okay,
earlier
were
than that,
you
are.
were you once a human zygote?
Yeah,
Where were you when you were a human zygote?
inside of the stomach.
Okay, you're in your mother's body. Was your mother's body on Earth?
Yeah.
So how are you not of this world?
Now I am, but
What's the difference?
that.
I mean, have you ever been around a woman who's pregnant, who's expecting?
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
she has her husband in the guest room, making it the baby's room, right?
Yeah.
People transform their lives during pregnancy. This
Yeah, but-
idea that you're not of this world. I mean, I think that your best bet is to kind of talk about how, I don't know, maybe you have such a minimal impact to the political community, but that wouldn't even be true. Like, you're definitely of this world. You're physically here, but you're also transforming the lives of everybody around you. You're changing your mother's body, or you're acting in a way that's going to be in line with how your mother's body is changing. And surely, if you have a good family, your family's going to be changing. So you're of this world. You're of this world.
I think that if you are not born yet, then you have no like.
I know you get that, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't see how the difference between the baby in the womb and the baby outside the womb. That's what I'm struggling with right now.
Because if the baby's inside the womb, then what? It's not doing anything. It could die still. Like you could have a miscarriage on your own without having an abortion, and it would still not be there anymore, and it wouldn't be like the baby just died.
So because you have a miscarriage and the baby could sadly pass away, that baby is fundamentally different than the baby outside the womb?
If it was like still like the same weeks as like a 6 to 8 week old baby, it's the same thing as an abortion. Like you're still bleeding.
I don't even know what that last statement was. You were saying that in the womb you could be miscarried, correct? That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, and then outside the womb you can't be miscarried?
What do you mean? If you're outside the womb, then you're already born. You can't be.
Right, so you can't be miscarried. So how does that mean that they're different in principle? Because inside the womb, sure, you can be miscarried, but outside the womb, you can escape the grasp of your mother and get hit by a bus. Like what? Yeah, like bad things can happen to you, and you can lose your life, not at the command or the doing of your mother or those around you. It could be by pure accident or random occurrence.
I think it's different if you're.
How is it different?
Because if you're alive, like that's something else. You've already been in
But
the
you're
world.
alive in the womb.
But you're barely alive. Like you don't have.
What does that mean? You're barely alive. What does it mean to be barely alive?
You don't have even a fully developed brain. You can't move. You can't survive. You can't walk. You can't talk.
So you care deeply about the fully developed brain.
I care deeply about something that could hear already inside the womb. If you could hear and you're in the womb already, okay, then
what if you're born deaf?
Well, then if you could you have your fucking food going to you and shit already, like you're already fully developed in there. But
No, I said, what if you're born deaf? You said you care about the hearing in the womb.
I know, but if you're born deaf, then obviously it's not the same thing. But you're still gonna be developed the same amount as a baby who can hear.
Well, in a way, you're not fully developed because you can't hear. I think that part of human development is the development of our hearing.
Yeah, but your body is still developed. There's a lot of deaf people who can still live.
Okay. We have a ton of people in the box. I appreciate you coming up, okay?
Okay.
Maybe we'll talk again some other time, all right? Bull. Guys, if you want to join the Discord server, I do have it open right now. We'd love to have you in there. We got a Bible study going on, and we'll be doing some more stuff throughout the summer. Link is in the bio. And if you don't mind following, that is also great, although you never know when I'm going to be censored next. Rise, or is that, how do I say that? Riz?
Riz, yeah.
Riz. Hi.
So my thing is, I would not want to be born and placed into foster care, knowing how shitty the system is. And I would not want to be born into a family that doesn't want me, that's going to abuse me and neglect me, because that's what happens when people don't want kids.
Would you want to be born into a family that loves you?
Absolutely. But
okay, so should we not deprive those children of their lives?
But that's not the people who are having abortions. No,
that's not necessarily the case. I know women personally that considered abortion and thankfully chose life, and they're loving parents. But they struggled with the abortion topic. It's not necessarily the case that if you choose life, you're going to abuse your kids.
Right. No, I get that, and I can see that point that yes, some people do go through with it and had considered it and do end up caring for the child. That is a valid point.
So would you stop that option? Would you say in those cases, at least theoretically, those people shouldn't be able to have an abortion?
No, I think that, if they really wanted to and that was the choice that they made in the moment,
so then it's not really about the suffering, then it's about something else.
It's about what the mother wants, because she's the one going through the pregnancy.
Oh, so it's really about what the mother wants. Because this is really interesting what you did. You came in, and look, I care for the children too, but you came in talking about the kids and about foster care. I went through a little theoretical situation with you, and now you're saying, no, it's not really about that. It's really about what the mother wants. So now this is a different argument.
Because I think there's so many aspects to the argument. There are so many aspects to it, because
so why should we allow a mother to do what is wrong?
Why is it wrong?
Because you're depriving an innocent human of their life.
But you're forcing a human being to suffer through 9 months of pregnancy that they don't want. And we don't know the case of the pregnancy. We can't just go in and say, oh, it's only okay for certain situations. That's just not okay. If a woman doesn't want to be pregnant,
would you say that generally or all the time, it's wrong to off an innocent person?
To kill a person? Yes.
An innocent human, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so then why is it okay for the mother to do it to her child in the womb?
Because they're not a human being yet.
They are a human being.
They're a fetus.
What does fetus mean?
They're it looks like an alien when it's inside of you. My child looked like an alien. It was creepy looking at pictures of him.
So if a kid came out with a disformed face and he looked like an alien, would you consider that kid not wanted and abortable?
No, because now he can sustain.
So it doesn't really matter if it looks like an alien or not. What really matters is the fact that they're human.
Because he can sustain life outside of a person. You can't sustain life outside of a person.
How does a baby outside the womb sustain its own life?
Because it's breathing on its own. It's able to breathe now. It's being cared for, hopefully.
So if you're able to breathe on your own, you're worth protecting?
Yeah.
What if you can't? What if you're born and you can't breathe on your own and you need machinery to help you breathe?
I wouldn't want to live life like that. Then take me off.
What if you are a little baby that the doctors thought the baby was going to be healthy, but they get the baby out and the baby can't breathe? They have to use some sort of medical practice to keep the baby alive and to feed oxygen through its lungs. The baby's depending on machinery to keep it alive.
And what kind
And
of
the doctor, then the diagnosis is that, actually we think that, there is a chance that the baby won't need this machine at some point. Would you say that that child is worth protecting?
It depends on the chances. Like if there's no chance, no, that's no quality of life. No, I'm not going to let my child.
So
suffer.
if a baby is born and they need a machine to breathe, your first inclination is not to protect them because they need our help to survive through the use of machinery,
because
pumping
that's not a
oxygen into
quality
the
of
lungs.
life. Because they're born.
How do you know
enjoy
that?
their life.
How do you know that that's not a
live
quality
life.
of life?
Because
worth
I'm going to
protecting?
be hooked up to a machine and I can't like move or do anything. I can't go anywhere without this machine.
So are people who are hooked up to machines who are paralyzed, they can't move, they have no quality of life?
They're not hooked up to a machine. They're in a wheelchair. That's not.
Let's say you're hooked up to a machine, you can only move your head. Do you have no
can't even
quality of
talk
life?
when you have oxygen. Like when you're intubated and you have oxygen, like you can't even talk.
Okay, I'm asking you, are you saying that people that are born, that are hooked up to a machine, they can't move, whatever you want to add to the story, go ahead. Are you telling me that those people don't have a quality of life?
No, in my opinion, that's no quality of life.
So you don't believe in protecting them. You believe we have no obligation to keep them alive.
But this isn't the argument. The argument's about abortion.
I just want to make sure that we understand the principle. So in principle, those people aren't worth protecting.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that someone should be able to have.
Then what are you saying?
I'm saying that abortion is not wrong. If a woman doesn't want to go through with a pregnancy.
Well, no, I get that. That's higher level. We're digging deeper now. The principle that you're putting forth that, having to be dependent on society to keep you alive means that we don't have to do that because what you're saying is that you have no quality of life. You're making that decision for them. Is that true?
In my opinion. I'm saying in my opinion, that's not a quality
based
of
off
life
of your
I would
opinion,
wanna live.
they have no quality of life and we shouldn't protect them.
I'm not saying that we shouldn't protect them because of that. I'm saying in my opinion, that's no quality of life. I never said we shouldn't protect them though.
Should we protect them?
If that's up to their guardian and the doctors, it depends on the diagnosis. It depends on so many other factors.
What about a little kid? A little kid that's born and needs to be hooked up to a machine for the foreseeable future. Do we protect them?
It depends.
How does it depend? They're a little baby.
Are they brain dead? Are they going to be able to?
No, they're not brain dead. They're hooked up to a machine though. They require extensive medical care.
Okay, then yes, they can be protected. Absolutely.
Should they be protected though?
Yes.
Okay, so we're obligated to keep them alive with extremely extraordinary medical means, but the mother's not obligated to sustain her pregnancy where the baby's developing in the womb. That's the perfect environment for that baby at that time.
No, because it doesn't just impact the baby; it impacts the mom too. You're totally
but keeping those humans alive impact us all. That costs money. That impacts the family that's dealing with that's very emotionally hard to deal with. So then why are we saying in that case we have to keep them alive? We will protect their life. But in this case, where the baby is developing within the mother in the womb, that is the perfect environment for the baby, and this is a very natural and normal process, the mother's not obligated to sustain that child's life.
No.
What the heck is this? No, and why? Sorry, a bug was crawling on me.
No, you're good. Because at the end of the day, if she doesn't want to, she shouldn't have to. And at the end,
I get that. Well, look, I get it, man. You think that you should be able to do what you want to do. I understand that. To some extent, that's pretty American of you. But I'm talking about shoulds and shouldn'ts right now. And if
But
you hold the
that's
position that we
the thing.
should take care
But
of
then
that
that's the
individual,
thing. We force these people who think that they shouldn't have to go through with this, and then they don't want to care for their kid, and they don't think that they should have to because they didn't want to have this kid. And now we have all these kids that are placed in foster care that are in the system that end up living these fucked up lives because
that's
they're
not actually always the case.
have them.
Many people do have difficulties in their life. That is human nature. And many of these people are going to have great lives. So you're making a statement that's just not true.
I mean, in my experience from the people that I work with, a lot of them do come from foster care.
So
So
you're telling me that all these babies in the foster care and these adoption agencies, let's say, that they are living terrible lives, or the most of them are.
I work at a rehab, and a lot of them are there and have been struggling with addiction for most of their life. So
Why are we keeping them alive? Why don't we go and we go ahead and make the decision to euthanize them all? Why don't we follow that all the way through?
Because they're people.
They're people? What do you mean by that?
We can't just go and kill people.
Why can't we in this case? You're telling me that their lives are very difficult. You're saying that they shouldn't even have had the opportunity to live in the first place. Okay, well, let's using your thinking. I would never propose this, but using your principles, let's go and off all these people. Why don't we do that? And you're saying because they're people. So are you telling me that the baby in the womb is not a person?
No.
How is it not a person?
Because it's not born. It's not here. It's not a person until it comes out of the womb.
What does it mean to be a person?
To be a living human being.
That's what you really believe?
Yeah.
Okay. So then the baby in the womb is a human being that's living. So you believe that they're persons too, but you're discriminating against them. Unless you want to change your definition of person, which I don't recommend doing. I think that your definition is fine because that's my definition as well. But you're discriminating against the unborn because by your definition, they are persons. So, you know.
Okay. I guess I see your point in that, but it's still not going to change my view. I can see your point, and I can agree to disagree on it because I'm not going to sit here and argue. I can see what your point is. Yes, it is a living, but still at the end of the day, like if a mother doesn't want to go through with a pregnancy, she shouldn't have to, and nothing is going to change my mind about that.
Okay, even if it is offing an innocent person.
Yeah.
You don't really care about that.
No. I guess if you want to put it like that, like I guess not.
That's bad. I think that most people who are going to hear that are going to say that's pretty absurd. Do you think that? Let me ask you one last question.
You're putting it like that, like that.
Well, let me ask you one last question,
I don't do it like that.
Let me ask you one last question. What is a higher good for you? What is it? Something that you value more? Is it that we are a just society, or is it that we protect a person's right to do whatever they want? What's more important, the individual or justice? I know it's a big question, but what do you think?
I would have to say justice.
I don't think that's true. Respectfully, I don't think you actually believe that. Because you are telling me that you understand it's a person in the womb, but you don't care. You're not going to change your mind on this because you believe the woman can do whatever she wants, even to the extent of offering her own kid, who is a person. Well, if you actually did believe in justice, you believe that justice is a higher good than, let's say, individual liberty, which I think is a good, but it's not higher than justice, then you are actually lying because in this case, you are valuing individual liberty over justice because you're doing an action that's not just because you're depriving an innocent human of their life.
Okay, then I guess it's a case-by-case situation.
So you wouldn't say that your highest thing that you value, or when it comes to justice versus individual liberties are going to triumph justice sometimes.
I guess so.
I disagree. I think we should always do what is just. Most of the time, that's going to be protecting individual liberties, but justice is much more important. If we start saying that You can do whatever you want, and that justice is a higher, or that individual liberties are a higher good than justice. You know what's going to happen? It's pretty simple. You're going to sacrifice justice a whole lot of times, and that's not good. So I disagree. I appreciate you coming up, though. You're very respectful. Hopefully, I wasn't too harsh.
No,
but
cool. Good conversation. I appreciate it.
Yeah, take care.
Have a good night.
She sounded like she was out on her porch enjoying the beautiful night, and she took some time to talk to me, so that's really great. I should probably be doing the same. I should probably be outside enjoying the weather. Smart lady. Let's talk to one more person, guys. If you want to support me, a great way to do so is to join the Discord server. The link is in my bio. All you do is hit the top left, go to my TikTok page, hit the Linktree link, go to the Discord server. Happy to have you in there. Follow this page as well, and then on X. I've been posting a lot on Twitter, so we'll be doing a lot of spaces on there. We got a really cool series coming up, a history series. I think you guys are gonna like it a lot with somebody I recently connected with over there. So that's all in the works, man. That's all in the works. Bring me up, please. Oh my gosh. No, what? Let me in. Put me on live. Ah. All right. Okay, we'll talk to Ashley, and then that will be it for tonight. I appreciate you guys all being here. First live back since being censored by TikTok. Sav, I've talked to you before, okay? I've talked to you. We can have a conversation offline, or if we're ever in a situation where we haven't talked to any new people, then we could talk again. But I prioritize people I haven't talked to. Ashley, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. What do you have to say?
Well, I do feel really strongly on this issue. So I am very much pro-choice. I mean, I understand what you're saying with this being important, but I think that individual liberty in this situation is important. And honestly, if it comes down to it, let's say that there's a pregnancy where the woman is having a medical emergency and it comes down to like the woman's life or the baby. I mean, in the states where they're banning abortions, they've been already having issues where they've had to basically decide the mother's life or the baby's life, and that just is a really dangerous situation.
Yeah, I'm not proposing that choice is that you're ever going to make the choice where you give up your own life for the child's life. That's not what I'm proposing. What I'm proposing is that we view the situation how it is. We protect both individuals in the pregnancy.
Right, but there's times where it's going to come down to, like, if there's the issue of, okay, this state has completely almost banned abortion, and then it's like past whatever weeks, like let's say it's 10 weeks, and then it comes down to the mother's life or the baby, then that could be, I mean, that could be a really bad situation where they are having to basically say, oh, well, we can't terminate this
but all of
pregnancy
these
to save the
states that
mother.
have all the states that have pro-life legislation don't ban the medical exception. It's available to all these women. And every time we hear about these cases, did you watch the State of the Union from this year?
I did not. I'll be honest. I did
So
not.
Joe Biden, our decrepit old man dude that is somehow inhabiting the executive branch of this country, he invited an individual by the name of Kate Cox. Kate Cox is a resident of Texas. She claimed that Texas didn't give her the medical exception, but that's not true. That's also not what her own lawyers admitted to. Texas didn't give her the medical exception because she didn't need an abortion. It was not medically necessary. But why I'm bringing this up is the media played it out as if she was denied a medically necessary abortion. So she left the state and she offed her kid. Terrible thing to do. The reason why she really wanted an abortion is because her child had a very severe condition that didn't have a very promising outlook, but there was no medical need to off the kid. And so one thing I want to make sure that is understood here, whenever you hear of these issues in the media where they say that a woman was denied an abortion and they medically needed it, you need to look into it and see if that's actually true. Because when Kate Cox, who was propped up by our commander-in-chief as the leader of the reproductive rights movement, or the prime example as to why we need reproductive rights, she did not need an abortion. She was fine. There's nothing wrong with her. So, it's important to understand that.
And then even if it did come down to the kid having a medical issue, I mean, I feel like someone should have the choice if they don't want their kid to suffer. I mean, honestly, if I was the fetus, I would rather that they offed me instead of bringing me into the world to suffer.
And why is that?
Because nobody should have a life of suffering if they don't have to. That's just kind of cruel. And
So nobody
honestly,
should live at all?
I think people should live. Yes, there's going to be suffering to an extent, but like to have a painful medical exception,
So
that's
are
just not
people
right.
who are suffering a great deal, their lives are not worth living?
Their lives are worth living, but
So then why don't we allow them
honestly,
to live them?
because honestly, if someone is going to have a horrible medical condition, like I personally want someone to put me out of that suffering. I wouldn't want to
So
live
we,
like
we,
that.
we allowed people to put them out of that suffering then. That's what you're telling me.
Before they come into the world, like once they're
And we
born,
make that
obviously
call,
that's a different
right? We're not
situation.
even taking their opinion. We make that call beforehand.
I mean, they're not at the point where they can make that call.
Are you aware that in some of these, actually a good portion of these cases, we'll have a child who is diagnosed with a serious medical condition, and then that child will end up actually living a very happy life and will live for many more years than they were expected to live. I had a family
And
member
that's
who had, I should know the condition because I hear about him all the time. I never, well, I met him when I was little, but I was tiny. Who had a condition where he was supposed to be like dead by the age of 20. He lived till he was 40, and he wrote books. Like, you know, I'm not trying to hate on the lab coats, but sometimes the lab coats say things, and because they're not gods and they're not prophets, they get things wrong. So, I mean, is that okay with your conscience that we're going to go off of some sort of medical diagnosis and we're going to say you're going to suffer greatly and therefore you're not worth protecting and somebody can abort you?
I mean, it's not to say that there aren't those times where they make a bad call and where someone can't live a good life, but I still think that it comes down to the mother's choice.
Why? Why does it come down to the mother's choice? Why is that so important?
It's important because she's the one that's can get pregnant. I mean, if
I think
someone's
that's a
capable
really
of getting
important feature
pregnant,
of women. I think that's something that makes women amazing. But does that give women the justification to off their own kids?
I don't look at it as offing. I mean, I view abortion as a medical procedure. I do think it's their choice. I
It's a
mean, I
medical
think it
procedure to
comes
do what?
to get an abortion,
Which is what?
which is ending a pregnancy.
Which means what?
What I just said.
What does that mean? If I didn't know, what does that mean? What are type of abortion? What are the types of abortions you can get?
There's abortion pills.
Which does
There's
what?
the
When you say abortion
ends the
pills, what does that do?
pregnancy. That
How does
ends a
it end it?
pregnancy.
How does it end it?
It ends the fetus's life.
How does it do it? Do you know?
Honestly, I
Two pills.
don't
Two
know
pills.
exactly the
First pill,
specifics.
progesterone. Is that the? I'm gonna. Gosh, some of the pro letters are gonna kill me. The first pill is going to actually starve the child, and the second pill is going to create violent cramping that's going to remove the child from the womb. That's majority of first trimester abortions. If that doesn't work, then they'll go to a D&E, a dilation and evacuation, where they're actually going to scrape the child out and use a vacuum. And that's going to be the majority of second trimester abortions. If the baby is too big during the second trimester abortions, they'll go to what's usually done in a third trimester abortion, where they'll actually off the child with some sort of poison, and then they'll rip the child from the mother limb by limb. So in all these cases, we're seeing a grotesque slaughtering of the child. And a woman has a right to that because she's a woman.
I do think she has the choice. And
Okay.
especially if the kid's going to be born into circumstances that aren't good. And, you know, as a
What
man,
if
I
the
don't think you
circumstances
would.
are going to be good? Can they off the kid then?
Honestly, if it comes down to her not wanting a child and not wanting to be pregnant, I mean, as a man, I don't think you'll know what it's ever like to be pregnant and
No, I
experience those
won't because I am a
hormone
man. You're right.
changes.
You're right. But if the child is going to be perfectly fine and the woman has plenty of money, can she off her kid in the womb?
Ultimately, I think it's her choice.
So it
Now,
really
if
wasn't
I
about
was
the
in that position,
suffering.
is that
It
what
really
I
wasn't
want to
about the
do?
suffering. It's really just about having the ability to do what you want.
Well, I think about it from a lot of different angles. I honestly think that it's the individual's choice. Whether I agree with them doing it in a circumstance or not isn't really up to me. I think it's up to that person that's pregnant.
Yeah, I get you think that it's up to them. Is the act itself good?
I don't want to say it's good or bad. I'm neutral on it. I think it depends on the situation.
You're offing a kid. You're offing a human being. You're neutral on that. You don't think that act's good or bad.
I don't look
Beyond
at
that
it as
concept,
somebody.
you're promoting something. You're saying that we should allow someone to do something, and you're saying that the act's neutral.
I'm saying it's their choice, and I don't look at it as offing a kid. I look at it as a fetus. If it's not alive outside of the mother yet, then that's still a fetus.
Which means what? What's a
Which means
fetus?
it's an unborn child. It's not alive without the mother.
So is the child outside the womb. The child can't survive without the mother outside the womb.
Yes, obviously, a newborn baby has a difficult time surviving without the mother, but they basically wouldn't just be born and then die. Like, if someone gave birth to a 3-month-old baby, they would die right away. They wouldn't survive. I'm saying
They could actually
basic.
be born and just die. What if they're born into very extremely cold temperatures? How long would they survive?
Well, obviously, that's an extreme example. That's not
But
usually
you
going
made
to
the statement
happen.
that it's they're going to survive for some amount of time. I mean, I think that amount of time is very minimal and kind of it's funny to think about because it's like, okay, how long are they really going to survive? A day? Like that matters. They might suffocate themselves within the first hour in a normal circumstance. But let's say that the baby is born and quickly the mother puts the baby outside in a negative 50-degree temperatures. How long is that baby going to survive? Probably like
Well,
5 minutes.
obviously,
But the
they're
difference
not going
there,
to.
the difference. So let me ask you a question. Are we allowed to do that? Is a mother allowed to birth the baby and then put the baby outside to pass away?
No, because at that point the baby's been born. At that point, that would be murder. I think that's a completely different
What? Okay,
situation. And
there's a question I want to ask about that, but there was a point I was going to make here, and that is that the mother
okay,
is intentionally removing the baby from the environment that the baby has a right to. That being a warm, cozy environment, hopefully in the embrace of a mother, but at least in a hospital and then eventually a home where the baby's going to flourish. In the same way, the womb is that environment. So they're basically the same thing. You're taking that baby and you're putting it out of an environment where it shouldn't be and is actually going to off that child.
well, it's not the same thing at that point
How?
because before that it's a fetus. It's not a baby. We're talking about a baby that's
So
been
it's not
born.
about the
That's a human.
circumstances. It's not about the environment. It's about the actual ontological existence of the being. So the baby is of a different nature. It's so the unborn child is different from the born child. How?
Because it's still a fetus. It's not a grown baby yet. It's not outside of the
So it's
mother. It's just
development. The development's different.
the development is different.
Okay, and that's what you care about.
And that's one of the things. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons.
Why does development matter?
Because at that point, I don't think that a woman should be forced to be pregnant and have that experience if that's not good for them, if that's not what they want. I mean, there's a lot of different
Well,
issues that come
that
with.
doesn't respectfully. You didn't really answer the question. You talked about the woman again. I asked you specifically why does development matter?
Well, because again, it can't live without the mother, so it's still a fetus. It's not a
Yeah,
baby
but we've
yet.
kind of already poked holes in that. I mean, can't live without the mother. No baby can live without its mother. And if you put it in the wrong environment, like you can do outside of the womb, and certainly you can do to the baby inside the womb, that baby's going to pass away. So I don't know. That doesn't really seem like to be a good principle to me because if we're going to go off that principle that the baby cannot survive without its mother, the baby does not deserve protecting. We follow that all the way through. We're going to be supporting infanticide, and you sound like a reasonable, good person. I don't think you want to support that. So, doesn't seem like it works to me.
I mean, let's say the baby's still basically a clump of cells. I mean, at that point, is abortion still, do you still think abortion's unreasonable?
So you're talking about when it's a zygote?
Yeah.
Well, you can't really abort a child that has just been conceived. But
Or like, let's
yes,
say it's within the first month.
do you know why it's It's wrong because you're offing an innocent human being. But let me propose something that might actually click for you. Hopefully, maybe not. It is wrong to off a human, not only because you're doing something to something that's innocent, but also because you're depriving that human of their future. And so when you off a day old, what's really sad and tragic about that, when you read about it in the paper that a mother did that, is that baby had its whole life ahead of it. That individual unique human organism would have had the opportunity to try to go to college, would have had the opportunity to find their first love, would have had the opportunity to buy the first house, to have a career, to have kids of their own. That's all gone now because that mother did something that was evil. And we all kind of know this. We all kind of think like this. Take that same baby, push it back to 3 months in gestation. Baby's still getting deprived of its entire future. It's the same human. You're still enacting a great deprivation of their current life and their future life. So in the same way that it's wrong to off a human outside the womb because you're depriving them of all this, that's the same human inside the womb that when you off, you're depriving them of the same things. They're just at a different stage in development.
I mean, I guess that's one way to look at it. I mean, I see your point with that. I still don't think it takes away from the fact that it's still the mother's decision and choice. And I mean, if you want to take that angle, I mean, honestly, you could be aborting the next school pew-pewer. If you get what I'm saying. I don't want to say the word on TikTok, but
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. Well,
I mean,
Ashley, I appreciate you coming up. It was an honest conversation, but I am going to wrap things up. So thank you so much for coming up, okay?
okay, thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right. I don't think we're gonna make any more progress. I thought she might like the future argument, but it is what it is. Guys, thank you so much for being here with me tonight. You could have been doing anything, but you spent some time with me. I appreciate that a lot. If you want to support me, a great way to do so is to join the Discord server. The link is in my bio. X is a great way also to join into some awesome conversations that I will be having across this entire summer. And of course following here, because when I do go live, you want to make sure that you get into those. That's it, guys. I'll read comments for a few moments, but then I'm gonna hit the hay. I got a few things I have to get done tonight before I go to bed, including cleaning my dishes. So I want to make sure I get that done. The semantics, you made 0 sense. Oh, I'm sorry you didn't like the arguments. James for president, thank you so much. Chago, I hope I'm saying that correctly. I wouldn't mind the presidency one day. I wouldn't mind it. It'd be great if I was president. Everybody get free candy and one bottle of Jack Daniels every single year, free. You get a little coupon. That's gonna be my campaign. Thanks, Kelly. I appreciate that. Too weak for president. Okay. Trump 2024, 100%. You did great. It made a lot of sense. Thank you. I appreciate that. Jesus is Lord. He is indeed. Our Lord, our incarnate Lord, who loves us so dearly. Thank you, Andrew. I love the argument, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. I am speaking in the tradition of many other individuals, so it's not really all my thoughts, but I appreciate it. I'm happy to share where I get everything from. I tried joining your server, but it won't let me. No, Abs, go ahead and DM me. Or actually, you know what? Here. I'll send you a DM right now. If it'll let me. All right, I'll message you. We'll get you in there. Why is it not letting people join? TikTok, come on. It's probably my fault somehow, but what's the problem? I have a unique, what is that noise? I have a unique server name, and some people can join, some people can't. It's very weird. It won't let me in either. Oh my gosh, Josh, here, I'll drop you a follow as well, and I'll DM you. That's so annoying. Yeah, I guess tonight I'll let him trash talk me, but I'll get him back in the future. You are so scared. OMG, I would cook you. Yeah, man, I've talked to probably hundreds of people. Well, definitely hundreds of people at this point. I'm not really scared of anybody. I've heard it all. But next time we will have a conversation. He's blocking him. I'm not blocking him. Whoever the mouthy fool was, I just opened up his profile, was laughing at his picture. Loud and wrong. Silent on silence. Thank you so much for that. I have a question. What's your question, Trin? How do I join? Yeah, I'll send you the link again. We'll make sure to get you in there. But you do have to have a verified phone number. That might be... you need help as well. So annoying. Here, I'll follow you as well. We'll get you in as well. Brother... I don't know what that last word is. Yug? You? I agree with you 100%. Awesome. That's great. I have a question. How do we change all systems to support your argument? We actually don't have to change all systems. In most states, when you off a woman who is pregnant, you get tried for double homicide. Why is that? Well, because you're depriving this human of their life. You're offing not only the mother, but you're also offing the innocent human in the womb. We just need to carry on with that same line of thinking and protect these children to the extent that we're not going to allow them to be aborted. So I actually don't think that it's that crazy. From a broader scale, a political philosophy take on this, it's actually in line with our country and how we've reasoned things, protecting all individuals, not on the basis of features or race or their makeup. No. All human beings are created equally and are made in the image of God. That has been the precedent in this country, so we're not really rewriting a whole bunch of stuff. We're just protecting the unborn, which are of our species, which are human, and which the other side wants to discriminate against because they don't believe that they're worth protecting like we protect other humans. But there's really no good reason not to protect them. They're just like us. They're just early on in their development. That is true. That is true. Actually, I think the best thing the other side could do to make their argument better would be to say that all people aren't equal, which in principle people are not equal, right? People are taller, some people are shorter, some people are bigger. People come with different things, right? The different intellects. But we value all people equally. What the other side should do is say people are not only not equal in how they're created, but we also shouldn't value them equally. Now, I think that's probably the most honest way to represent the opposition's views, but they won't do it that way because then that would lead to all sorts of problematic, absurd viewpoints outside the womb. But that's what they're basically saying. And I'm going to agree with the first part. I'm going to say, yeah, people in principle are not equal, right? Some people are taller, like I said, some people are shorter, some people have better intellects than others just by nature. Some people are going to have an inheritance that is grand and they're going to be able to go to college. Some people are not. That's not equivalent. However, we should value all people equally. Their best argument would be to say those inequalities exist, therefore we shouldn't value all people equally. And then they could discriminate against the unborn. Not for that. I'm just kind of laying out, I think, what would be a good argument for them. You're just talking to talk. I know I'm not just talking to talk. I'm actually talking. First of all, I'm representing the conservative view, which is the John Adams natural aristocracy view, where yes, there are just inequalities in nature. However, we should protect all people equally. And then I'm challenging the libs or the socialists or whoever's on the other side, the opposition that wants to support pro-choice legislation, to actually be consistent in their views of our human nature and of our politics, and to follow it all the way through and support the nasty things that they support. Anyway, you believe in a fairy tale that 2,000 years ago. How do you take yourself seriously? Well, it's interesting that you call it a fairy tale. I don't think that's true. I think that the eyewitnesses would disagree with you, and the people that knew the eyewitnesses, and the entire church that has lasted 2,000 years. But on the latter point, the church has lasted 2,000 years. The oldest institution that we have. That says something. I'm stealing this from Bishop Barron, but you go to Rome, and what do you see? You see ruins. What's still in Rome? The Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is still in Rome. Somehow the greatest empire that has ever existed, or the most powerful empire that has ever existed, is in ruins, but the church has prevailed through all of that, through persecutions, through scandal. That's something to investigate. There is something about that institution. That's it, guys. I'm talking too fast. I have to go finish reading what I was reading before. Got some fun stuff planned for all y'all. Why isn't the link working? If the link is not working, send me a DM. I'll look through my DMs, okay, after the live, if you're still in here. And we'll get the link to work, okay? Other than that, God bless you all.